Hi, it's me, your boyfriend slash girlfriend slash day friend's favorite content creator. And I was going to make a, I guess, relatively quick video about the current situation, what was happening with Steam and now itch.io or itch.io, if you're cool like me, and the fact that they have delisted a ton of not safe for work content. Now, all I was going to originally say was, I think it's fucking stupid. I don't agree with the fact that a payment processing center like Visa or MasterCard have so much power that they can dictate what games can and cannot be sold on a separate platform holder's platform, right? But then I got a comment from someone because I started looking into it and they said, hey, you should look into a Collective Shout. So I did. I looked into Collective Shout and all of this makes so much more sense when you understand who these people are. So without any more, rambling on, well, there will be more rambling because this isn't a scripted video because you don't do scripts over here. I want to show you a couple of things I found about Collective Shout. Now, first and foremost, Collective Shout was founded by this woman called Melinda Tankard Reist. I probably pronounced her name wrong, but it sucks. Anyways, here's her article posted from Wikipedia. I'll let you guys read it with me. As you can see, Melinda is an Australian political activist, writer, speaker, and media commentator. She describes herself as an advocate for women and girls and a pro-life feminist. Her campaigns to ban X-rated films have gained national attention in Australia. Now, first and foremost, before people start getting weird or whatever, this is not some anti-feminist video and I'm suddenly telling you guys I'm actually a piece of shit guy and I've always hated women's rights or whatever. No, because I do believe that there are some things that, yeah, we are doing really bad, especially towards women, especially as a male, right? But this is beyond this. This is someone who has a very clear bias towards essentially adult content as a whole, right? She even blocked someone like Tyler, the Creator, from touring in Australia due to his lyrics that were considered misogynistic. He's a rapper. However you feel about rap, really lots of songs in general and music can be construed as misogynistic or sexist or racist or whatever. But as an artist who was touring there, he should be allowed to tour. He was given approval. It's not like he was constant sort of controversy where he was, I don't know, on a certain person's client list and shouldn't be allowed in the country with anyone involved, right? This was simply someone who doesn't like rap or things they consider to be misogynistic or things they consider to be adult material or anything like that. He's also, besides being anti-pornography, he's also anti-abortion, right? And is a conservative, a Christian conservative, which should tell you a lot about the trajectory of this video and how we got to where we are right now. That's just a little bit more than this. She is the founder of Collective Shout. Founded it in 2008, which describes itself as a grassroots movement challenging the objectification of women and sexualization of girls in media, advertising, and popular culture. So that's interesting to say because this works under the assumption that every woman who's in the media that they targeted was being objectified, even if it's like the woman consented to it or they are part of the creative process or what have you. Because going after the games, which is what we're going to get to, which is why this is on my gaming channel, has nothing to do with the objectification of women. It has everything to do with their just anti-porn, anti-sex stance. Now, here we go. As far as it goes with actual video games, they seem to hate a certain game. And if you watched my video about how the right dominates gaming, it's you'll know it's Grand Theft Auto. It's always going to be Grand Theft Auto. 2014, Collective Shout, right here, agree with me. Collective Shout protested the video game Grand Theft Auto 5. They described GTS 5 as a video game that encourages players to brutally murder women for entertainment. The game is banned from Target and Kmart. Detail changed Australia last year, for which the group claims responsibility. In response to this campaign, an anonymous internet troll posted on 4chan claims responsibility for impersonating one of the group's leaders online. In 2018, Collective Shout promoted a petition to ban the sale of Detroit Become Human, a game which they said contained themes of child abuse and violence against women. First things first, Grand Theft Auto is not a game that promotes violence against women. The GTA series has always been a over-the-top satirical look at our current society, current American society, right?
The organic elite at the grain of truth and shop with superiority. Food has never been this self-satisfying. Featuring organic, natural, fair trade, macrobiotic, sustainably harvest, farm to table, goji infused, antioxidant rich, 7-grain, 12-grain, whole grain, gluten-free, cruelty-free, vegan, vagina, non-genetically modified, zero trans fat, free range foods at prices you simply won't believe. It's that, or are you more of the factory farmed, genetically altered, hormone infused, horse meat infected, slave labor harvested, agribusiness supporting, obesity causing common herd? We didn't think so.
You can kill police officers, you can kill any pedestrian, you can hurt tons of people in that game. It is not something that specifically seeks to glorify violence against women. Everyone's awful in these games. You have terrible NPC characters you play with. Trevor is a white male who is a psychotic piece of shit, right? You have Michael, who was like a former bank robber, right? Franklin, who might or might not be a gang member. I don't know, it's kind of weird there, Franklin. Like he was working at with his friend Lamar in a repo position thing, but also was shooting people, so whatever, it's a video game. But no one's like a great person, because that's how it works in the Grand Theft Auto universe. There's no good people, there's just worse people. No one's good. And it's a satire. That's why everything you look into the radio is just the most insane shit happening, right? They're taking a satirical look at American culture. But what I really want to talk about is Detroit Become Human, because now, do I have a soft spot for David Cage? Perhaps. Is that soft spot created specifically because I think David Cage is one of the worst auteurs out there? Also correct. But in this game in particular, the themes of child abuse aren't explored, I think, in any way that is damn anything like that. In fact, I feel like they should have done more with that stuff, just the allusions to it. But you are allowed to talk about heavy, uncomfortable topics in media and art. You are allowed to do that. There's nothing in Detroit Become Human that is so disturbing that I'd be like, I don't think people should watch or view this. Like there's really not. There's implication that the father of the little robot girl might be abusing her, but she's also saved by the robot girl you're playing as, right? So she's saving her and wants to take her away from all of that. That's as deep as that shit goes. And there's a dumb twist, but whatever. I just said it. But the girl is a robot. They present her as like she's a regular little girl, but she's a robot, which raises a whole host of questions. Because I'm like, the unemployment rate is supposed to be like 50%, and he's like this guy who's out of work and he hates clankers because they put him out of work, but then he could afford to buy a brand new clanker and makes the child version, which again, another question I have to ask, why can you buy child robot versions? But that's another question for a different video I may make, just me ranting about Detroit Become Human. But the point that I'm making here is the topics we're talking about, this would be the same if I said, you can't make a game that deals with murder because I find murder to be reprehensible, right? And it goes against my sensibility as a pacifist. Like, you don't have to play the game, but people should be allowed to create art that either challenges your assertions or your moral beliefs and not be punished by having these weird fucking agencies, these weird fucking people come on and be like, hey, dude, we want to take this shit down. I don't have to agree with it. There's a lot of games I straight up just won't play. And I've had mutuals who have played these games I won't play. And they did the work. Great. I might play a game that they would never play. That's fine too. The games exist because they're media. Media exists. There are movies that I will never watch, that I have no interest in watching, that people have watched, and it's like the shock value movies, right? Where people get sexually assaulted for like 10 minutes straight or some bullshit like that, right? I don't want to watch that. But I'm not going to say it doesn't deserve to exist. It might serve a purpose for the story. I just might be fucking with it. That's fine. But this is not that. This is a group of people who are having an agenda. Their agenda is they do not want any sort of adult content to be accessible in games. Like it's insane, right? Like, and speaking of the No Mercy game, Collective Shout did have a part to say in that, but the developer removed it on their own accord. Although obviously there was pressure to do that. But I think this is a step above that, because now you are having them going directly after people as a whole on the platform. They're not able to make money off of the games that they made, right? Simply because they are creating content that they themselves don't like. And it doesn't make any sense, right? Like, there was a Vice report by Anna Valens, which I've also used her work before, talking about this group. And the group had retweeted a TERF, which is a trans exclusionary radical feminist statement, who claimed that pervert nerds are responsible for most of society ills, and expressed doubts that the game's target actually depicted child abuse. And then they did a follow-up article in which Valens noted that they're associated with NCOSE and Exodus Cry, who she described as censorship prone, and accused the group of targeting popular video games that depict children in scenarios where they face distress or harm, even if these depictions are intended to encourage concern and care in the player. So again, like I was saying with Detroit Become Human, these aren't situations that are glorifying these atrocities. They are doing it in order to elicit a response, like for you to care about this person, or for you to understand the emotional state of the character you're playing as and why they might do what they do, right? It's to help with the story. So now I want to show you the open letter that Collective Shout did in order to, I guess, to push the arm of these payment processing companies. This is on July 11th. To Mr. Alex Chris, Chief Executive Officer and President of PayPal. Michael Maybach, Chief Executive Officer of MasterCard. Mr. Ryan McInerney, CEO of Visa. Mr. Bruce Lowthers, CEO of PaySafe Limited. Michael Shepard, Interim CEO of Discover. Mr. Takayoshi Ute. I'm sorry, I'm butchering these names. CEO of Japan Credit Bureau. Your corporation is facilitating the profiting from rape, incest, and child sexual abuse game sales. We, the undersigned, are writing to request that you cease processing payments on game platforms which host rape, incest, and child sexual abuse themed games. In April, we exposed the sale of rape simulation game No Mercy on both Steam and itch.io game platforms. In the game, players assume the persona of a man who rapes his female family members, including his mother and his aunt, as punishment for his mother's infidelity. It was marketed as follows. In this game, you either become everyone's worst nightmare or rather the best dick they've ever had. Your goal is simple, leave no, you see this right here, right? I've talked like this before. The game was geo-blocked in Australia following Collective Shout's complaint to Australia's Classification Board. Following our global viral campaign, including a change.org petition signed by over 70,000 concerned individuals and attracting international media attention, the game was taken down in Canada and the UK and pulled from Steam by developer. So it was pulled by Steam from developer. Now, I don't like the fact, again, that they did this, but at the end of the day, the developer did pull it from Steam. And Steam is a way bigger platform than any other platforms combined. But what I really fucking hate is the fact that you have a group like Collective Shout who can, on a whim, do shit like this. They can just lie about stuff. However, we have since discovered hundreds of other games featuring rape, incest, and child sexual abuse on both Steam and itch.io. Our research has shown many of these games would breach Australian classification laws. But do they mention any of these games? They talk about what these games are? No. You can just say anything. A Collective Shout team member has conducted extensive research using a Steam account set up for its purpose. He has documented content including violent sexual torture of women and children, including incest-related abuse involving family members. These games endorsing men's sexualized abuse and torture of women and girls fly in the face of efforts to address violence against women. We do not see how facilitating payment transactions and deriving financial benefit from these violent and unethical games is consistent with their corporate values and mission statements. Okay, this is what they send all these people. And so far, at the very least, MasterCard and Visa have bent the knee. PayPal, I believe, already does this because of the stuff with OnlyFans, which gets to my next point here. I told you earlier that this was a conservative group, a Christian conservative group. I also told you guys, I did a video a while ago talking about how the right dominates gaming. Now, the overlap here is it's conservative Christians. You remember those videos I made about like Sweet Baby Inc. and how all these grifters keep saying how Sweet Baby Inc. is coming to ruin your games. Sweet Baby Inc. wants to get rid of all your hot girls and all your women. Is Sweet Baby Inc. the one doing this? Are they the ones putting pressure on processing centers to not process payments? No, it wasn't them. It's who I said it was always going to be, conservative Christians. Because conservative Christians have a very myopic and puritanical viewpoint on literally everything. The founder of Collective Shout is anti-pornography. You are seeing laws put in place in different parts of the world, like in the UK, or even parts of, I believe, in America, right? When it comes to adult content pornography, where they want you to put your fucking ID to verify that you're 18 years or over. I know people are gonna be like, wait, that's a good thing. No, it's not a good thing. It's not a good thing. Because what do they need to do that for? How does this protect anybody? You have people who are making content, whether it's adult content in the form of OnlyFans or in video games, that's their livelihood. And you're saying they can't do that because your Christian conservative beliefs are offended, even though you don't have to consume said content. This is no different from when OnlyFans creators were talking about how payment processing centers won't allow them to get the money they earned because they don't agree with them doing porn. And sure, some people might use that. Well, you know, people do things like sex trafficking, whatever. I'm not saying that doesn't happen, but imagine if we did everything based off of what the minimal result will be and not the maximum. Like, imagine if there were doctors in the world that are bad. So people said, well, we're going to ban physicians because some doctors are bad. Some doctors want to hurt people. Like, that's stupid. But we do this here because this country is so puritanical, especially now with these conservatives in charge, that we are having the death of art. This is still art. I know you don't agree with me on a lot of things, but this is art, and this is actual censorship. This is censorship. When you are literally not allowed to do something, they are not allowed to have games on Steam or on itch.io and potentially other platforms, because you know how, because of capitalism, how corporations work, they can now decide what games you don't have access to. If you were mad that companies like Ubisoft said you can never own your games and that they're going to be able to pull when they want to, then you should be fucking irate that a company that doesn't even have anything to do with video games is telling game platform holders, this is the content you can and can't have. Fuck your own content moderation, fuck your own rules. We're not going to allow you to take this money. We're not going to allow this payment to go through if you have these games on your platform. Like, that's insane to me. And it's wild to me that it took this happening for people to start to understand why myself and other people have been always pushing back against the dumbass rhetoric that, oh, these activists, actors and these game developers, they hate real gamers. Meanwhile, you have this shit going on. Did Sweet Baby Inc. do this too? Is this Concord's fault? Is this the woke left doing this? This is a conservative Christian group. This is what was always going to happen. When you guys use the excuse that we're trying to protect women, it's the same excuse when they want to be transphobic. Oh, we want to just protect the women from men in their spaces. And then you start to see the shit that they're actually doing. Oh, you want to keep trans people out of this? Well, now you have these losers online who are trying to tell you what a woman looks like. So anything that doesn't fit that very particular mold can be treated as other. You have that man, I'm going to be nice somewhat to him, Asmongold, complaining about the way that Jade looks because she's bald, and they're tired of bald women because they don't look like women with long hair. That is an extension of all of this shit.
Listen, I'm gonna give I'm gonna give people that make video games and people that make movies some advice. Nobody wants to see a bald chick. That's the advice. You're doing something and you're putting something in a story that nobody wants. It's so confusing. Why would you do something like so? Women don't think this is cool. Maybe like, 5 of them do, but like that's it. And then men think it's weird too. It's for losing money. Yeah, it's just so odd. And yeah, I guess so. Easy lesbians? Oh, no, that's not true at all. Lesbians are not a monolith that only like women that like look like men. Women that like look like men. Women that like look like men.
I know it's something I'm going insane, but I'm telling you, these all lead towards the same path. That's why we push up against fascism. Fascism attacks almost exclusively or immediately the arts, because that's human expression. The minute you're allowed to attack people's expression and their humanity, you can do whatever you want. You guys were mad at some people mad at my video saying that, oh, I was lying about how they want characters to be too sexy. Well, guess what? You're going to have 0 sexy characters if conservative Christians get their way, because you can't even have access to this. And what do you think is going to happen next? Like, what do you think the next steps are going to be? If you have a group like Collective Shout, who is an Australian-based company, not even that big, and they're able to put pressure like this to a platform as large as Steam, and Steam to bend the knee. Same thing with itch.io. Where do you think this is going? You think they're going to just stop? If they see they can do this with that little people, who's to say now you can't have games with queer people in it? We don't want you to have games with black people in it. We won't allow you to put pressure on that. We won't allow you to process those games. If there is a game that I can twist to say this is going to offend my sensibilities, what's to stop that from happening? This is why this is bad. Like, this is actual censorship. These are the actual groups you guys should be fighting against, and not fucking Sweet Baby Inc. or any consulting agency. Like, do you see how dumb all that was? All you did was run cover for shit like this to happen. And now you have some of these grifters talking about this, but it doesn't hold any water because you were spouting the same nonsense if the characters were trans. If the characters were queer of any kind. You were spouting the same exact nonsense as Collective Shout. It shouldn't be up. It shouldn't be in these games. Why are they all in my face? Why do you have so much minorities on the screen? It's the same argument. They just pick a different target. But eventually shit rolls downhill. And I'm sorry I'm getting super rambly. I told you I would. But this shit pisses me off. Because this was avoidable. This was 100% avoidable. We could have put more pressure to allow the protections of people who work in this industry, allow people to be more queer, more different, instead of putting out bullshit rhetoric after bullshit rhetoric, consistently demonizing and dehumanizing people who aren't cis straight people who aren't men, to the point where you can just say shit like this, okay, yeah, fine, whatever. Yeah, let's get rid of all this content. Because guess who they associate with this shit when they say like incest and predatory stuff? They associate that on this level, right? Conservatively, they associate that with queer and trans people. So people who have nothing to do with this. That's why I mentioned how that person was talking about how they were like retweeting TERF sentiments, because now they're saying, hey, that's a target I don't like. I will join and amplify this. And now look what's happening. Much like I've said before, and I'm talking about how us going over trans people is going to affect everybody. Now, guess what, gooners who were mad at me for saying it's the gooning problem in gaming? Guess who was fucking right? I told you conservatives would do this shit to you. I told you games would get worse. I told you game would be a lot worse. I said that in my Project 2025 video. I also mentioned that in my other video talking about how the right dominates gaming. This is going to get worse, but you guys are so busy trying to own the libs that you're co-signed all this shit, and now you're like, wait a minute. Wait, now they're censoring? Of course they are. They were always going to. Even if it seems so small, like, oh, you are complaining about, oh man, why are you complaining so much about, people attacking diversity in gaming? This is why. I've always said diversity in gaming is more than just skin color. It's so much. It's the types of games you can get, the types of games you have access to. And now you're seeing them literally pull the type of games you have access to. What's to stop them from saying no more violent video games? They can easily stretch the definition of violence. They were hyper specific saying violence against women and children. Okay, what about violence against their fellow man? What if like, hey, you know what? This game is too violent actually, and we're not gonna let you sell this game. You sell it, we're not gonna process in your payments. So get rid of this game. It's gonna cost you money to keep on your platform. Like that could be the next step. That's not a huge leap. And again, I'm beating a dead horse at this point, I know, but I'm clearly passionate about this. This is what real censorship looks like. Not a game company deciding to alter their design of a fucking character. Right? Because they chose to do that. Not censorship is also not changing dialogue to sound more natural. That's localization. This is censorship. You have someone, a company, completely overreaching their bounds to the point where they're just saying none of this shit's allowed. No exceptions, no nothing. What if the game is like a law game that's dealing with, you know, crimes and talk about child abuse or abuse against women? And they're showing you how bad it is and why you shouldn't do it. Guess what? Not allowed, because it deals with those themes. That's where we're at. Like this sanding down of content. This is why I hate using terms like unalived and shit. Because when we have to sand all this shit down, it ruins art. It takes away the intent, the emotional intent of what someone's doing. And you don't have to like that intent. Like I said, there's a lot of shit I can't fucking stand. But I'll be goddamned if I'm gonna let some outside company be like, by the way, you can't say nigga anymore, even though you're black, because our test audience doesn't like it. So we're gonna not allow videos to say the N-word ever. I'd be like, what? What happened to free speech? What happened to, you know, letting art exist? What happened to letting creators create? This shit fucking sucks, man. This shit fucking sucks. And it just infuriates me. Cause like all those times I was telling people, stop talking about Sweet Baby Inc. There are other groups that are way more harmful. Everything just Sweet Baby Inc. So I had to address Sweet Baby Inc. all the goddamn time to show you how stupid it is. And now look at this shit. Now we're doing Collective Shout, who again is an anti-abortion, anti-pornography, conservative Christian movement based out of Australia. And now you can't play a whole genre, a whole host of games on Steam and on itch.io, especially itch, because if you bought those games, mind you, they delist them. You don't have access to them. Even if you purchase them, they're no longer in your library. Like, I have seen people more upset though over Nexus mods getting rid of some blatant like homophobic shit than this. Yes, Nexus mods should get rid of homophobic shit. It's homophobic. But goddamn, they didn't delete the game. They just said we're not going to host on our site. This is a whole ass platform saying bye-bye. And to all the people who are the creators of these games, right? They're being hurt more. These people aren't like these like demons or anything. They're just fucking creators. This is from Extra Magazine. I think it's a great article. Earlier this week, online game store, Steam and multimedia itch store, itch.io, both announced that they would delist all NSW work content from their site, citing pressure from payment processors Visa and MasterCard. The card processing companies have been working in tandem with Australian social censorship group called Collective Shout to exert influence. We've been over this part. In some cases, even non-sexualized games that just had the LGBTQ2S+ themes were marked for removal. Anti-porn advocates frequently mislabel queer and trans-related content as inherently sexual, and Collective Shout is no difference in this case. Like I was saying earlier, right? Like I said earlier, they will just associate queerness with degeneracy. And that's why you can just attack them. All of social media, queer creators reacted to this news and are scrambling for possible replacement hosts for their games, stories, and art. Blue Sky user and developer jazzpomegranate.com complained saying, bro, you delisted my game and it had no adult content in it, just the word trans. Robert Yang, I just wanted somewhere to post my weird gay video games. Why can't they leave us alone? Like, Collective Shout, according to his website, is concerned with the increasing pornification of culture and the ways messages have become entrenched in mainstream society, presenting distorted and dishonest ideas about women, girls, sexuality, and relationships. Like, no, this is just religious. Like, exactly, this is just a religious crusade against pornography. Like, oh my god, I know I'm fucking rambling. I know I'm rambling, but this shit's pissing me off because it's always just religious conservatives fucking everything up for everybody. It's always this. You have creators who are now going to have to find a way to host their games. You're telling people only certain stories can be made. Again, that person just said that they had nothing adult in their shit. They were just trans. They're like, well, that's got to go too. Why? Because like I said earlier, we've made associations like that. The conservative movement has made associations with people who are trans. You go on, I wouldn't recommend this, but you go on Twitter. Any trans creator, any trans person Twitter can vouch for me here too. You go on Twitter, if the trans person says anything, you would get 100 comments calling them T-slurs. 100 comments, no matter what it is. One of my friends, I should say friends, mutual, Dead Domain, made a post, and the person responded like, well, if the T-slurs don't like it, you're doing something right. We associate so much negativity with that group. So all you have to do is have the thinnest veneer of protection. And people are like, yeah, fuck it, go for it. Yeah, dude, get rid of this entire section of gaming because trans people like it and they're degenerates. Oh, but we're talking about the increased pornification. Okay, then wouldn't it make more sense to attack like, gee, I don't know, like movies or commercials and not video games? Like, if you want to talk about a treatment of women in society, I'm down for that conversation. We can absolutely have that. I have not been secretive about my opinions on that, but this doesn't accomplish anything. Not their stated goal. If their stated goal is talking about the increased pornification of society, then you'd have to talk about how people use objectification in a way to sell products. You'd have to talk about the dynamics between men and women. You would also have to talk about it from a religious standpoint, right? Because you can't talk about pornification without the subservience of women. You can't talk about that pornification and not mention the fact that lots of religions, including the Christian religion that you apparently follow, put women in a submissive role to men. That creates an imbalance of power dynamics that allows men to do certain things to women. Has been a justification to do certain things to women, like not letting them have jobs, like treating them like baby making factories, like not allowing them to have control of their healthcare. Right? You'd have to start there. What the fuck does getting rid of like GTA 5? How does that help women in real life? Like, where's the connection there? There isn't one. Because it's bullshit. This is just an anti-porn crusade. That's it. That's it. That's fucking it. And it worked. Because the seeds were set by having a conservative, far right at this point, fucking fascist presidency and administration, and a bunch of content creators who I've spoken to about at length, allowing this sort of rhetoric to propagate. Because like I said before, they will use the same rhetoric, even harsher, if they're talking about trans, anyone queer, fucking minorities. But now that's being used against something they actually give a shit about, suddenly it's bad. It's always been bad. And now it's being used, the same logic being used against them. It's like, wait a minute. I think I saw a tweet where people were pointing out the hypocrisy of Revses Des, right? Or Desu. How he was like, man, this shit's, you big bitch are complaining about this. And now he's like, oh man, what was that anime? It's like, I'll show it up here. But it's like Shimoneko, a world without dirty jokes. Like, this is right. It's like, motherfucker, you were the one who was pro censorship. Like, oh my God, this video got way too long. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. It's just, man. Fuck Collective Shout, essentially, TLDR. Fuck them. Fuck anyone who wants to overreach and censor art like this. Like, you've now, what, demonetized an entire fucking genre that you weren't going to play? Guess what? These games existed 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. But now they're the problem. Now they're a problem. No sense. It makes no fucking sense at all.